What's going on, guys? Marcus here, back in the shop, and I just got done listening to Dr. Dre's debut album, and no, we're not talking about Detox. He actually said that album was whack and he scrapped it a couple days ago, and thank God for that, because the last thing we need in hip-hop is some old heads still trying to sound relevant and dress like they 20 years old again.
Something new. Stop, drop, shut them down, open up shop. Oh, no.
So this new project is called Compton, and it is the soundtrack to the new NWA movie that's coming out next week. Similar to his last two projects, this does seem more of a compilation album than an actual solo debut, and that's fine with me because it's Dre. Dre isn't known to be one of these top of the line rappers of the year or whatever. You gotta remember, he is a producer before he's an MC, you know, and he was a part of NWA, which makes him more of a actual group member than a solo artist. So I mean, you can't really knock him for that, because I did see some reviews where people complaining about he's got way too many features, you don't really hear too much Dre, and it's just that's Dre. This album is chock full of features. We got features from Exhibit, Game, Cube, Eminem, Kendrick's all over the joint, and we even got some new guys. Well, maybe not new to you, but they are definitely new to me. A guy named John Connor, he's in the track For the Love of Money, which is a kind of like a debut or whatever, or I guess a shout out to old group Bone Thugs and Harmony. If you're not familiar with who they are, they were signed to Eazy-E's Ruthless Records back in the day. And this song goes hard. This is actually one of my favorite songs in the album. Again, I don't know who John Connor is, but he definitely did his thing, and I'll probably be checking out some more music from him in the future. And that's what I love about Dr. Dre, is that he's not very selfish when it comes to having featured artists in his songs or in his music. He's going to try to bring the best out of everybody. So even if that means he's going to have you back in the studio redoing verses over and over and over again, he's gonna make sure you perfect it. With that being said, again, comparing it to his last two projects, this album is a lot more personal compared to The Chronic and 2001, so you're not gonna hear any radio singles or any club bangers like The Next Episode or G Thing, you know, tracks like that, which is cool because, my man, you like 50-some years old, you my pop's age. I really don't want to hear you talking about being in the club. Your old ass need to be at home somewhere or cooking up something in the studio. That's what I want to hear. But again, with this album being more personal, there's always been rumors of Dre having ghostwriters and guys helping him out with his verses and whatnot. It is what it is. Dre isn't supposed to be one of the top of the line rappers. That's why he doesn't drop music consistently like other artists do. So I'm kind of fine with that, but it does kind of surprise me, again, how personal this album is. So it does make me wonder, I was like, did he write this whole thing? Or did he have people just follow him all over the place to know exactly how his emotions and how his feelings are going to be through day-to-day life? Judging by other reviews that I've seen, it seems like this album is not too well liked, and I don't know why. I'm not sure if the guys who are reviewing it are like some 90s babies. I was born in 1990, but I have an old man spirit, man, or an old hip-hop head spirit. I remember being 13 or 14 years old, being the only kid on the bus with the headphones, listening to Snoop, Pac, Big. Yeah, I did have a mix of 50 in there and whatnot. 50 Cent and G-Unit, or whoever was hot back in those days. But I always had, you know, a lot of room for the guys that were before us, you know, again, the 90s artists like Wu-Tang, Jay, Nas. So that was my era. So it kind of does give me a flashback of, you know, back in the days of when these guys were really spitting hard and they took a lot of pride in their sound of music. If I want to compare music from back in the day to now, back in the day, you can tell who was from what region of the country just by the sound of their flow and just by the sound of their beats. So Dre had the whole G-style funk feeling. It was just real funky. You could tell that it was just that straight LA lowrider feel just by listening to it. So if you don't know what I'm talking about, pause this video and go listen to some old Ice Cube, some old Dre, some old Snoop. Go listen to The Chronic, go listen to West Side Connection, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. And then pause it again and compare it to some Wu-Tang and some Jay and some Nas. You can definitely tell the environmental difference. Now, everyone kind of sounds alike. Like this new guy, Fetty Wap. When I first heard his music, you can't tell me he didn't sound like he was from Atlanta or something. But going back to the album, I do like how Dre doesn't sound outdated and washed. He still seems relevant, even the production in his music. It's not that old G-style funk that I was talking about earlier. It's definitely progressive and something new. I don't know if the West Coast has its own sound. I guess you could say it does just by listening to, you know, Black Hippie and Game or whatever. They still got that West Coast feeling, but it's not as strong as it was back in the day. So it's still blended with some new up-tempo production, which is cool. And I'm glad to hear that Dre, even his flow sounds relevant. You could tell that he adopted, like, you know, Kendrick style of flow, where it's fast-paced and it's not real laid back and chill, kind of like how he was rhyming back with Snoop back in the day, where it's more mellow and relaxed. But it's cool to hear him, you know, maybe not progress as an artist, but just go along with the times. I do like how he does talk about things that he has been going on in his life in the past couple decades or whatever. So if you've been a fan of Dre since day one or since the Chronic album or whatever, you do know the trials and tribulations he's been going through. As far as signing Snoop Dogg, leaving NWA, the fight he had with Eazy-E, Eminem, and then Shady Records and all that stuff. He does mention that in his music. And it's pretty much like an emotional roller coaster. So fast forward to the last track, Talking to My Diary, you can tell that he's just putting out everything. He's just spilling his emotions and everything he's going through in the past 10 to 15 years. Another one of my top favorites out the album is the joint that he's got with DJ Premier, who, if you don't know, is actually one of my favorite producers. He's just got that old 90s New York style. And the funny thing is, he's not even from New York, he's from Texas. But when you listen to his music, you listen to Gangstar, you listen to Nas's like, it just screams NYC. Going back to the album, they collaborated on a song called Animals. And this song just has Premier's just gritty beats with that, again, that West Coast flow. It's really kind of hard to describe, but just the way Dre flows on it is, to me, it's impeccable. I mean, what can I say? I really do like this album, guys. To wrap it all up, it was definitely a flashback for me. Again, I keep reminiscing of back when I was in high school and middle school, listening to these guys, Dre, Snoop, and Game 50. And it's just bringing back all these kind of memories. So yes, I did have a fun ride listening to this album, and it's getting me pumped to go see NWA or Straight Outta Compton, whatever the name of the movie is. It's coming out next week. I'm pretty sure that was the whole purpose of this album. It's just get us pumped and excited to see this new flick that's coming out next week, which I will be reviewing next Friday. So if you guys haven't heard this album, do yourself a favor, go cop this joint, especially knowing that this is possibly Dre's last album. And again, he doesn't drop albums, if ever. So it's like a piece of history you want to keep. It's like a trilogy. You got the Chronic 2001, and now you got Compton. So it's a closure to Dr. Dre's whole solo career. And go reward yourself. I'm telling you, go give it a listen. I loved it. If you do have a similar taste in music like I do, and you grew up listening to these guys like Snoop, Cube, and, you know, I already said the names 100 times. Go do yourself a favor. This album is definitely worth listening to. It's a fun ride. I give it a good 9 out of 10. Only reason is because I wish there was more added to the album. It's only about 16 tracks. If it had a good 20 of the same quality that it was before on the whole album as a whole, it would easily be a 10 out of 10. And with that being said, there's no track on here that makes you want to skip it or just, nah, I don't want to hear that again. The whole thing is phenomenal to me. It just may be me because of my me being biased in the kind of music that I like. What can I say? I love Dre. I love his production. I've been a fan of his music since I was a kid. If you haven't heard the album, go check it out and let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. So comment, subscribe, like, share this video, and I'll see you next time.